Congressman, good to see you this morning. Thanks very much for being here. Well, this fight is continuing, and you were one of the 8 to take out Kevin McCarthy. How are you feeling this morning with everything happening?
Well, we followed the rules, Maria. I wish we could have resolved it sooner. But when you have members of leadership that just keep throwing the monkey wrench into the system and just trying to wreck it, we're going to continue down this path. But good thing about this party is we have a very deep bench. Every one of those 9 members would be a step up, and I believe would be a great leader.
Look, I understand what you're saying, and I think our viewers support, wanting to ensure that the Republicans are tough and fight back on some of the issues you see on the other side. But let's face it, you and 6 other lawmakers voted to remove Kevin McCarthy, and now we're in this mess where you can't find a leader. You signed a letter saying that you'd accept consequences like censure if holdouts would agree to vote for Jim Jordan. California Congressman Tom McClintock is mocking the effort. He sends a sarcastic letter to Matt Gaetz, writing, quote, "Your letter of October 20th, in which you graciously offer to martyr yourselves as long as you can get your way, is perhaps the most selfless act in American history." How do you see this?
Well, Tom is a lifer. I mean, he's part of the, he's part of the machine. Obviously, He voted against term limits, for goodness sakes. I mean, who does that in the Republican Party? So, we have a very diverse group. We have 9 capable people that can handle this thing. We followed the rules that Kevin McCarthy voted for during this, which were voted on unanimously by the conference, by the way. And so, everybody keeps saying that we've wrecked this thing. How did we wreck something that was $33 trillion in debt? We went up $1 trillion in debt 3 months this year already. We're paying $1 trillion a year in interest. I would dare say that no one in leadership was actually focused on that. And that's why we're in the situation we're in. It's out of frustration. Well, Maria, all this is just a road. It's just a blip on the screen if our financial system collapses, which it is on the way doing. And by the way, that $1 trillion of interest a year is mostly paid to the country of China, someone who would love to destroy us. So we've got to get we got to get back on track financially. And leadership was not doing that. As you remember, we took off the entire month of August and 2 weeks into September, when knowing September 30th was the end of our fiscal year. And then this past week, we were even scheduled to be off. So, when is enough enough? The American public is sucking it up. They're paying more at the pumps. They're paying more for everything, interest and everything else. And the reason is, Maria, is because Congress can't get its financial ship in order, neither Democrats or Republicans. As you recall, as you've reported multiple times, that we were downgraded, our bond rating, twice in recent history. And the reason was, the 2 reasons given was leadership. And now that cuts both ways, because it's 20 years of records that they were going back to, and fiscal responsibility. When you come back and say we're going to cut the rate of growth 1%, Maria, that is not saving anything. That is not that's Washington economics.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but what we're not talking about right now, we're not talking about Biden family influence peddling. We're not talking about the weaponization of all of these agencies. And so, do you feel responsibility for that? Is that investigation now left for dead? House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer has now revealed a $200,000 check, which was directly sent to Joe Biden from his brother James and his sister-in-law Sarah. The payment happening on the very exact same day that James and Sarah received $200,000 a wire from AmeriCorps, which is a rural hospital operator, Congressman. And then you've got Eric Swalwell already dismissing this bombshell, writing on X that this only proves Joe Biden generously loaned his family money and that responsibly paid him back, Congressman. So where does this investigation stand? What about this direct payment, $200,000, which went to Joe Biden? And, do you feel responsibility for the fact that we're not pursuing the investigations that the people want to see brought to justice?
Well, actually, Maria, those committee meetings are still going on. And the reason this is coming out is because James Comer, the chairman of the committee, and his folks in his office are still operating like they always were. And you can, I tweet about the committee meetings I'm in all week and my @Tim Burchett on X. But you're right. James Comer received $600,000 in loans. On March 1st, he received a $200,000 check from AmeriCorps. And then in court records, I think it's pretty telling in court records.
Comer. You said James Comer. Let's start again.
I'm sorry.
Walk us through what happened.
Yes, ma'am. James Biden received $600,000 in apparently some sort of loans from this AmeriCorps, which is financially in trouble. And then on March 1st, he received a $200,000 check. And then he immediately wrote a check to President Joe Biden, who I guess was Vice President Joe Biden. But what was telling was James Biden in the court records stated that the Biden family name was what they used for influence. So, at some point, the Justice Department has got to say, we're going to look into this. That's the problem. We can sit here and bring all this stuff forward. And Jamie Comer, the chairman of the committee, which is still meeting, obviously, we bring this stuff forward, and the Justice Department just turns a blind eye to it. And at some point, we're going to have to move to impeachment, because this is just obvious. I mean, Swalwell and the rest of those guys, they can deflect all they want, and they can go on all the other talking heads, and they say there's no proof. Well, this is proof. This is an actual check that he wrote on the very day that he received this to his brother. I don't know about you, but my brother Charlie, if I wrote him a $200,000 check, I think he would. It might raise some concerns, and there it is right there. But and it says loan repayment. But what loan? What loan is there? What proof is there of any loan? All this is more 10% for the big guy, but this looks like 33 1/3% for the big guy on this one.
Yeah. Well, I understand what you're saying, and you've got this check as proof here. But the subpoenas are not being answered. There's a lot of stuff that you're not going to be able to do because you don't have a speaker.
Well, the subpoenas are not being answered. That they can still be issued. There's no question of that. And they are going out at some point. At some point, though, and that's why this is being brought forward, because we're still doing our job. And so. They're not going to answer the subpoenas because they don't want to answer the subpoenas. At some point, though, we are going to have to get Hunter Biden in there to start answering some questions. And we'd like to get Joe. Of course, he won't. He'll use presidential privilege. But his brother James is not free from that. So at some point, we'll bring them in, and we're allowed to do that right now.
Congressman, we'll see about that and whether or not you actually can get Hunter Biden to go under oath for you. Real quick before you go, who are you supporting for Speaker now? Do you have a favorite out of the 9 that are running?
I do, actually. And if I were to endorse them, it would probably kill them off right now because of my popularity within the conference. But I guess I ought to endorse the person I don't want to win, so that would cause them great discomfort.
Well, we just want to see a speaker in place. We don't want to see any more games, Congressman. You know that. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. But I tell you, the 9 that we have there they're exceptional people, and I believe each of them could do the job. But there'll be we'll have three out today, and then by the end of the day, I hope we just have 1.
Okay, Congressman, we'll be watching. Thanks very much for being here this morning. Tim Burchett joining us.
Thank you, ma'am.